Well, boys and girls, Mr. Cooper here with Willie Bob again. How are you doing today, Willie Bob?
Oh, I'm doing okay. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Today we're going to have another wonderful Bible story.
Oh, are we going to have another story?
Another amazing story about our awesome God.
I got a question.
What's that?
Can I do the story today?
You want to do the story?
Yeah.
Well, I still want to do the story, but do you have a Bible story in mind?
Yes, I do. Can I do one?
Well, I guess I'll let you tell. Has to be real short though, real quick. Okay, you got a Bible story in mind?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Okay, you kids listening out there? Here goes. A long time ago, there was this little girl.
Okay, little girl. What about her?
Well, one day she decided she wanted to go walking in the woods.
I see.
So she got her little red hood and stuck it on her head, and she went walking in the... Wait. What?
Willie Bob, are you telling the story of Little Red Riding Hood?
How'd you know that?
Willie Bob, is Little Red Riding Hood a Bible story?
Yes, it is.
No, it's not a Bible story. That's a fairy tale.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I forgot what I was supposed to do.
Well, that's too...
Wait.
What?
Can I try again? Can I do another story?
You want to try to do another story?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll let you try again as long as it's a Bible story.
Okay.
Do you have another Bible story in mind?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll give you another chance, boys and girls. Okay, tell us a Bible story.
Okay, here goes. You kids listening out there?
Willie Bob, they're listening. Just tell the story.
Okay. A long time ago, there was this little kid.
Okay, a little kid.
Yeah. And one day, he looked out the window of his house and he saw something really strange.
What did he see that was so strange?
He saw this giant green beanstalk and it went all the way up to the sky. And he said, I'm going to climb that thar thing.
Wait, Willie Bob.
Huh?
You're telling us the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, right?
How'd you know that?
Willie Bob. Everybody knows the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. Now, is Jack and the Beanstalk a Bible story?
Yes, it is.
No, it is not a Bible story.
No?
No. You're supposed to be telling Bible stories. Now, let's just forget it. We need to get to my story.
Wait.
What is it now?
Can I try one more time? Please. Can I try one more time?
Boys and girls, should we give him another chance?
Yes.
Tell you what, I'll give you one more chance. At this time, I want a Bible story. You got it?
I got it.
You got one in mind?
I do.
It's a Bible story.
It is.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, here goes. Are you kids listening?
Willie Bob, just tell the story, okay?
Okay. Okay. A long time ago, there was this young girl, and she was sad all the time.
I'm sorry to hear she was so sad. Why was she so sad, Willie Bob?
Well, because she had to do all the work around the house. She had to do all the dusting and cleaning the chimney, and she had an evil stepmother and two stepsisters.
Wait, Willie Bob. You're telling the story of Cinderella, aren't you?
You know that one too?
Yes. Is Cinderella a Bible story?
I don't think you think it is.
No, because it is not. Boy, Willie Bob, the stories you've been telling us today, they are fairy tales.
Fairy tales?
Yes. Don't you know the difference between a fairy tale and a Bible story?
Of course I know the difference. What do you think, in a dunny or something?
Okay. What is the difference between a fairy tale and a Bible story?
I don't know.
That's what I thought. Fairy tales are fictional stories. They're not really true stories. Now, they're fun stories.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're fun. You can learn lessons from them. But we tell Bible stories here. Bible stories are not fictional. They are absolutely true stories. And I think they're more exciting because they are true and they help us learn more about God. So you got all that?
I got all that.
Okay. You ready for me to tell my Bible story now?
I'm ready. I just got one more question.
What's that? Yeah?
Can I tell another story?
No, you can't tell another story. Forget it. We're going to get to our Bible story, Willie Bob. So say goodbye to all the boys and girls out there.
See you later, kids.
Oh, boys and girls, welcome to another virtual Bible class. I have something I want to show you here. I have a plate of food here and a nice fancy cup to drink my drink out of. Doesn't this food look really delicious, boys and girls? I mean, there's chicken, there's some vegetables, there's a bread kind of dish. Looks really yummy, doesn't it? Now, some of you might be thinking, Mr. Cooper, are you going to eat your lunch right here in front of us on this recording? No, I'm not going to do that. But this is going to be something I'm going to be talking about a little later. This yummy, delicious looking food that looks really good. Or is it really that good? Or maybe there's something wrong with it? We'll get to that a little bit later on. Let's keep you in a mystery for right now. Right now, though, I want to talk to all of you boys and girls about something that all of you probably experience every single day on a day-to-day basis. It's very common for kids, and that is, let me ask you a question. Have you ever had to ask your mom or dad permission to do anything? I think that probably happens on a daily basis. For example, maybe the weekend is coming and you want to spend the night with your best friend. You say, Mom, Dad, can I spend the night with my best friend? Well, they might say yes, they might say no, depending on what's going on. But you have to ask permission. You just can't get up and go to your friend's house without permission, right? Or maybe you have a Dairy Queen really close to your house. And maybe you want to walk over and you really want to get an ice cream cone at the Dairy Queen. So you go to your mom and say, Mom, can I go to the Dairy Queen? I really want an ice cream cone. Well, once again, your mom could say yes, she could say no, but you have to ask permission. You just can't get up and leave the house without permission. Or, here's another example. Let's just suppose that you go to an amusement park and you want to ride that big, scary roller coaster that goes straight up in the air and goes straight down, and it makes all kinds of twists and turns. It goes round in circles, it goes upside down, all in loops. Maybe you go and you say, Mom, Dad, can I ride the roller coaster? Your mom might say, I don't know. That looks really too dangerous for you to ride. Your dad might say, oh, go for it. Looks fun. But the point is, you have to ask permission. Or maybe some of you, if you go to school somewhere, public school, not homeschooled, you have to get one of these, a permission slip, to go on a field trip or an after-school activity. But as you get older, boys and girls, you become an adult, you don't have to ask permission to do everything all the time. You're on your own, you're more responsible, you're older, you don't have to do that. However, in our story we're going to have today, it's a story about a man mentioned in the Bible. He was an adult, but he had to ask permission for pretty much a lot of things he had to do in life. The reason is he was a slave. Slaves have no rights. They can't just get up and go as they please. Who was this man mentioned in the Bible? Well, if I say his name, some of you are going to recognize his name. His name was Nehemiah. We have the book of Nehemiah right here in the Bible. A whole book of Nehemiah was written by Nehemiah, and he tells his story. Now, before I tell you who he was a slave for, let me give you a little bit of a background to the story. Nehemiah was an Israelite man, a Jewish guy. Now, he had never really been in his home country because he was born a slave in another country, but he knew that he was a Jewish man. He knew he was an Israelite. But many, many years before, there was a king of a country called Babylon. The king's name was King Nebuchadnezzar. King Nebuchadnezzar came to the city of Jerusalem in the land of Judah, and he knocked down the walls that protected the city, burned the gates, took a lot of people prisoner, and made them slaves. That happened many years before. Now, many years after that, another king came along from a country called Persia and took over the country of Babylon. Now, in the meantime, Nehemiah was born somewhere in all of that, and he became a slave to another king of Persia named Artaxerxes. And one day, Nehemiah got some really bad news about his home country that he had probably never been to because he had been a slave all of his life. The Bible says here in Nehemiah chapter 1 that Hanani, one of his brethren, came, he and certain men of Judah, and Nehemiah asked them, how are things going in my home country, in the city of Jerusalem? And they gave a bad report. They said, oh, Nehemiah, it's terrible there. They said the gates are burned with fire. The gates had been burned with fire, and they had never been repaired. They said the walls are still broken down. And they said the people are in reproach and a great affliction. They were very sad. They had enemies around them who were bothering them. Well, that made Nehemiah very sad. What's the best thing to do when you're sad or upset about something? Cry about it? Well, Nehemiah did cry, but what is the most important thing to do? You know what it is? pray about it. That's what Nehemiah did. He went to God with it. You know, the Bible says, if is any among you afflicted, let him pray. So he prayed. He prayed about his people in his homeland, about what was going on. And the interesting thing, as he was praying, something began stirring in his heart. God began stirring his heart, giving him the desire to go to Jerusalem and help the people rebuild those walls that had been broken down and repairing the gates. Problem was, he couldn't just get up and go, because remember, he was a what? He was a slave. But the good thing is, who was he a slave to? He just happened to be a slave to the king of Persia, King Artaxerxes. He was the king's cupbearer. Now, you might say, what is a cupbearer's job? Well, the cupbearer's job was to serve the king his food and his drink every day. But it went beyond that. This is what the cupbearer had to do as well. Before he brought the king's food to him, the cupbearer would have to take the plate of food for the king, and he would have to eat a little bit of everything that was on the plate, right? He had to eat a little bit, whatever was on the plate, the vegetables, the meat, the breaded stuff, whatever it might be. And then he would have to drink a little bit of the drink. You might say, why would he have to do that? Well, because in those days, sometimes people who were enemies to the king would try to put poison in the king's food. And so this is what the cupbearer would do. He would taste a little bit of the king's food and drink, and then he would just wait. Wait for what? Wait if he got sick and died. Wow. How would you like to have a job like that? I sure wouldn't. Well, the good thing is Nehemiah, that never did happen to Nehemiah. But the thing is, one day he came into the king's throne room with his plate of food and his drink. But the Bible says he looked very sad. Now, let me tell you something very interesting. It was very dangerous to look sad in front of the king. Because in those days, if the king saw you sad in front of him, he could have you killed just like that right on the spot, because the king wanted only happy people around him. But Nehemiah was very sad, and the king noticed it. And he looked really close at him. And the king said, "Why is thy countenance sad?" Or your face. Why does your face look sad? He said, "Seeing you're not sick." Then the king looked at him a little closely again. And he said, "This is nothing but sorrow of heart. You are sad." And he looked sad. Well, boys and girls, what would you do if you were in a place like that? Would you be scared? Nehemiah was. The Bible says Nehemiah was very sore afraid. He was very scared. But at the same time, he had a boldness that God gave him. And he just spoke up to the king. He said, "Well, let the king live forever." He said, "Why should I not be sad?" And then he explained how the walls of the city of Jerusalem had been broken down and the gates burned. What was the king going to do? Was the king going to be upset and kill him anyway? But the king didn't do that. He looked at Nehemiah real closely again. He said, "For what dost thou make request?" In other words, he said, "Well, you want to ask me something. What do you want to ask me? What is your request?" The Bible says, Nehemiah said, "So I prayed to the God of heaven." Nehemiah saw his opportunity. Of course, he didn't pray out loud. He just prayed a really quickie prayer in his mind. And he said, "King, if thy servant has found favor in your sight, that you would send me to Judah so I can help the people rebuild the walls." The king thought about it a minute, looked at him, and he said, "Well, how long will your journey be, and when will you return?" Wow, did you get that? The king was giving him permission, and apparently he was going to let Nehemiah stay gone as long as he wanted to. That was a miracle that God did, wasn't it? Why did that happen? Because Nehemiah prayed. And by the way, you remember the permission slip that I showed you earlier? The king even gave Nehemiah a permission slip in a sort of way. He gave him letters Nehemiah could take with him to give to the governors of the nations around Jerusalem, letting them know, yes, I have permission to be here and help rebuild these walls and repair the gates. But what was going to happen when Nehemiah got there? Were the people going to follow his leadership? Were they really going to rebuild those walls? Well, let me tell you, they had a lot of problems. There were enemies all around who did not like it that was going to happen. But you have to tune in next week to find out what does happen when Nehemiah gets to Jerusalem, because they're the enemies and they did a lot of bad things to get the work stopped. We'll talk about that next week. For today, though, the main thing we're learning today, though, is this: the power of prayer. We've already talked about prayer in other lessons, but Elijah was a great man of prayer. Remember how he prayed, it didn't rain? Nehemiah prayed, and God answered his prayer and was going to let him go. But Nehemiah prayed when he was upset. And we can talk to God about anything, anytime, anywhere. We need to remember that. We'll tune in next week, boys and girls, for another great, amazing story about our awesome God. And right now, I'm going to have my lunch. And by the way, it's not poison in it. I'm going to enjoy it. We'll see you all next week.